So on the subject of heritage, because that's what underpins the project, and the purpose behind the project is to explore heritage. In the commercial world, heritage is often manipulated and packaged to apportion value to products. What do you think students can learn from interaction with your archives about heritage and how it's manifest in other ways beyond, you know, what they experience in the commercial world in their everyday lives?
Yeah, I think it comes back to that idea that heritage can be interpreted in a huge variety of ways, and I think in terms of British Army and the British soldier, which is what we try and centralise in the work of the museum, heritage can conjure much more long-standing ideas than perhaps what they might see in pop culture, but certainly that pop culture and that use by design and the design sector has a fundamental value for historical collections and vice versa. So we've had a huge amount of input over the years into design collections and designers coming in to see the museum collection, which might not be that obvious in a shop or a commercial environment. But often has played a really vital role.
It's the quality also of the, in a sense, the product. What we have is the uniform, and when you look at the quality of
The
how it's been made, the cloth, the colours, the way it's been put together, that it's really important because it just screams at you, you know, quality and heritage. It is our heritage. It's everybody's heritage.
Yeah. There's a whole kind of dialogue around that idea. So the idea of quality and how things can last or not last, which is vital for kind of talking about the commercial sector now, and people talk about how, you know, how durable or not clothing can be now. And there was this, you know, some of the key designers who designed for kind of a wartime effort or even the army.
Oh, right.
Had this dialogue going on even then. So I think that some of that, you know, plays out in the collection. And I also think that it's about identity, and it's about kind of British identity, which is, even for the civilian development of fashion, tied, even if it's in a kind of hidden way, to military development. So sometimes we like to say that actually the collection is about the human condition through a lens of a military rather than about the military. It tells us lots more about how we got to today in terms of fashion more generally, I think.
Yeah, the social aspects of the times, when this was, why it was cut like that, why it was made
and there's
like
always
that.
been that dialogue, that intersection between civilian and military clothing and identity of uniform, and what that does to you as an individual is, you know, a hugely interesting topic alone.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, I was thinking about that word identity, whether it be within a national context or an international context.
Or an individual context.
Yeah, or an individual
certainly,
context,
you know,
certainly,
what was utility, what was
what's
best.
decorative, what's function, and those things are to some extent a bit veiled, I think, because they exist so much in the commercial sector. You know, the idea of epaulets, and that exists so much, of the idea of reveres on a coat, military coats. I mean, that's been
functional
every year that comes out.
Absolutely.
But actually nothing was, you know, epaulets, it started because in case someone sliced down on your shoulder. So I mean, it's kind of amazing. You know, it was
Nothing
early
was,
armour. I mean,
that's right. Nothing was really by chance with military clothing. It was all done for a reason. Everything there looks decorative, but is for a reason. And that's important, I think, to find out when you're looking at clothing.
And what I find particularly interesting is the fact that some of these functions were not necessarily limited to how the considerations about wear or the performance of the fabric in relation to accessories or anything like that. The idea that an epaulet was put on a shoulder to essentially save your life.
Yes, a sword cut. Yes.
Yeah, it takes it into another dimension.
Absolutely.
I think
And
that can be quite, that can truly enrich the creative process.
Absolutely,
These
and
kind of
I think working through some of those ideas about why you're putting something into a design, and whether that is to reference decoration or indeed to reference the fact that it was used as a sort of early protective wear.
Early armour.
Or late armour, but early protective
Well,
wear.
yes, absolutely. I mean, all the lovely metal lacing and frogging down the front, again, was used to deflect a sword blow. But you might not realise this when you look at it. You might just think, oh, that looks just fancy.
Yeah. Well, I've learned something today. Okay.